exploiting Pekka as he tries to connect with a super. Bax goes in now, should be able to hit the hypnotize onto this Carl, and so he does. Portox is happy to hold Pekka at bay while Daikon lays that damage down. Beautiful gadgets done there for Bass to win the 1v1 against Motep, and you can't ask for much more than that. Legion Ataku up to 60% and counting. They are really starting to run away with it.
Oko just strumming the guitar in the mid, not really worried about getting kills, spying them half the middle of the map, and now a Tailspin going through Hypercharge to try and cut off this right-hand side. We'll dive in straight at Bell, and it's going to be 50-50. Bell somehow wins, though, and now things going even worse on the top, the blue side. Take down Frank, and it's just a lone Lola.
And now we have a Hypercharge available for Daikon, so Bell has a guaranteed mark connection here, likely going to be safe for Pekka, and it is. Daikon's having a fight here, but Castabrawl are trying to force Legion Ataku off the point. Not going to work there with Bats going with that super now. This is a guaranteed stun on Shugaleo, and it is as easy as that, folks. Completely worked in the draft. Castabrawl back to the drawing board, guys. You are not going to win a series like that.
I think we got to give a lot of credit to this left-hand side. I think in general their drafts have been good. Sometimes you can't think about the results. I know it's so hard to just fixate on that, but especially in sets now 2 and 3, we've had pretty good showings from them. Obviously the results significantly better in set number 3 here, but now they finally got this momentum swing going. We already had question marks about this Castabrawl in the qualifiers. We've seen some shakier drafting in my opinion so far. I don't know. I don't want to let this team get hot here. Taking a set might be bigger than we think.
It's definitely true. They needed to take this set. They needed the motivation. Maybe they can take the momentum also into set 4. Boko, Bell, and Ollie, one of the best possible comps you can have on this map, I think. You have some range, you have the heals, the cleansing gadgets, protective tunes. It's a little bit of everything, Uber, like you said.
I mean, absolutely. And you just have to ask the question, what in God's green earth are Motep and Pekka doing on that map? What are they supposed to do more accurately? Motep was getting 1v1s against the Bell and was losing them consistently. Because Daikon is obviously able to have some durability with positive feedback, is able to hit the marks, set up those nest eggs that can be sort of, tripped quite soon after they're thrown down. And Pekka, I'm surprised he had over 200 DPS, genuinely, because it seemed like it was really, really hard for Frank to do anything. He couldn't even make space. You see like how he's being utterly disrespected. No one fears the super stun, and they can outrange it so effortlessly with the slows to a disgusting amount of damage. And even when they did, it's not like Bass will just gadget on top of them, stun them up, and Lola is easy to pick off there. As soon as an ego was developed, there was a freeze frame used instantly just to try and stay alive for Lola. It's not what you want to be.
It was a really tough matchup overall. You could say it was a bit of a draftive pack as well, and that Frank, he just walked into it over and over again, collected a little bit of a percentage at the time, but it just wasn't enough in the end. We're now heading into Hard Rock Mine. It is the first map that we saw today, the map which we have started this South American March Monthly Finals with, and we have seen some interesting picks. We have seen Juju come out for the very first time, one of the first times overall in the March Monthly Finals, but for the first time here in South America, and she has been picked up as often as none other brawlers in this region.
Yeah, same as last month, right? I mean, this is the kind of map where the classic Gene Max shell is really good, right? Ash in the side lane, very powerful. We've seen Rico, of course, be very good. Surge also very viable on this map here. So you can also try and play stuff like the Oli that we saw earlier on. Juju has plenty of options to play in the bushes and get value. Melody was the brawler that we actually saw take this map over in a big way in a Carl matchup at the start of the day. So a lot of those, nasty brawlers like your Ash, your Oli, your Melody, out of rotation here. The Buzz also really potent on this map. So both teams trying to target tanks and trying to create a bit more of a fair and gentlemanly game of brawl.
Yeah, they left a couple of them open. Hank, for example, is still in the run, and he could be a valid asset for any of the two teams getting. And there he is.
Had to be. Yeah, Hank at the top of my mind, and especially after last weekend as well. Shade is somebody that has successfully worked in scrims for a lot of these teams in South America. I think something they noted, took advantage of, and now we're going to be looking out for it as well. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. Not a guarantee by any means, but Castabrawl have really been trying to take advantage of these compositions. The Max, the Sandy, some classic brawl stars going down that right-handed.
Called it. Yeah, definitely expect to see some part of that Max shell be brought in here. This is the control that Sandy can give you, but more importantly, the Rude Sands vision against someone like a Hank, I think, is going to be really critical. It It's about stamping your mark on the map here. It's about making sure your mid can safely step to the enemy side of the gem well and snap some of those up. Just get that one gem lead and you're fine. That's what forces your opponents into a position when they have to fight. Also, the fact that Sandy has unlimited charges of the stun gadget, I think, Sweet Dreams is really important. Having a stopping power against like this Hank composition is going to be important.
It's been one of my favorite maps to watch this past couple weekends. I think it's just one that's so interesting to draft on. You see so many different strategies. You see Brawl Stars of old on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, while we get the Giant Hank on the left, Juju, another just staple of this region. I mean, South America is clearly prioritizing this brawler. They find a lot of value in it, and now that they've taken out brawlers like Buzz, Melody, and Mortis, I think they were looking pretty squishy here. I think they were kind of showing that in the band stage. That's the story they were telling, and they followed through with it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that just in general, having someone who there's not a huge opportunity cost for Bass to put down damage at extreme range across the map. I like the Meeple picked up here. I don't necessarily know if, what gadget we should be expecting them to go towards. And Mr. P, Sunny brought this up, I feel like a couple of games ago. Mr. P has been left open a huge amount today. And if you're trying to play a control comp, what better way than to have these bigger porters running onto the map here? And really, this is a big problem for someone like Hank or for Juju to deal with. Like, having to individually take these porters down. God, can you imagine Hank having to use a full bubble on a porter? Disastrous.
I think it's a really frustrating one, and one that's so consistent in other regions, and for Hard Rock Mine, and for Jim Grab especially. I mean, Mr. P's a given, so the fact that they get in a 6th pick is so much value. And to Juju, you're going to have to waste shots on that. Meeple in a duel as a single-shot brawler against porters, especially extra ones like we see there. Sure, he drops a cube down. What happens when Jubileo gets a hypercharged super, though?
Exactly. I mean, I think the porters go onto the map, and they are very frustrating. Becca, they had to use the Sweet Dreams cache to keep Portox off them, so you've got to respect that left-hand side of the lane. We might end up splitting left or right on this map just because the Hank now is deep within enemy territory, and Dacon's been able to bully here in mid, now up to 5 gems.
Oh, and now Motep is trapped. It's going to be Dacon who's just able to take advantage, allow Portox to hold his position. Pekka goes for a stun, not enough, though he's charging up that bubble. They have to handle him quickly, and they will narrowly survive. Finally, some porters can touch down on the map. Okay,
here they come. Jubilee with the first super of the game here. These porters are definitely going to be annoying. They soak up a lot of the attention here from the Juju, and now the Rude Sands through in here means that Portox can be kept tabs on now. Customer will have map control, but they need to turn it into a gem total at all. They have 0 gems because their strategy right now likely involves trying to kill the Meeple.
Finally, they drop a brawler. Oh, this is a massive stun. They go for the cube. It traps Pekka. He's got a border alongside him, and Portox trying to close the gap in time, and Pekka nowhere to walk. Grabs him enough gems, though, but now they're going to lose this mid control with the fact that they lost a brawler alongside it. But honestly, they've got reinforcements coming. It's a hypercharge coming out of the Mr. P. They're beelining it for it. They couldn't quite take it down in time, and now they've got invisibility and numbers. This could be disaster for the blue side.
Yep, that was a one window that Portox had to get rid of the porter spawners. Now you're going to be dealing with virtually an extra brawler for the remainder of the map. It is brutal stuff. Pecking is going to throw a Rude Sands down now as the porters harass Portox, who steps up, gets 3 gems, but they are likely to be dropped pretty quickly here. Jubilee, though, has to respect what Portox can do, and they've got a heal attached to their super. Pekka throws himself desperately into this now. Cutter Brawl need to find a way to get these gems out of hand. Delusion on target, but time is running short, and they don't have a way to strip them. Finally, Dacon goes down. Motep almost gave up his life for this, and the mechanics are sick. He's juking so beautifully. Gems are dropped, and Cutter Brawl now need to springboard off this map control into another gem spillage.
Still 12 on the blue side. Low HP for Juju and a cutoff on the left. They know where Mr. P is walking. They're holding it down. Portox 1v2.
That's massive.
The first. Motep follows up, and now it's Portox who can just fully defend on a lone brawler. Got scary there for a moment, but the blue roster once again pick up a game.
God, I mean, even with
follows up, and now it's Portox who could just fully defend on a lone brawler. Got scary there for a moment, but the blue roster once again pick up a game.
God, I mean, even with an extra, brawler virtually, those porters being on the field, it is so hard to deal with the Hank. The fact that you are getting 1v2 by the go, well, you're just trying to get past him. He's so disruptive. He doesn't even need to do massive amounts of damage. He just hangs around like a bad smell. Pops the super, gets his health back, charges up yet another bubble, and forces you to respect that burst damage. It's over 4,000. You cannot just walk into that as a relatively mid-range HP comp that Customer will have.
Gonna have to attempt it in game number 2. Try and retake, change something up, but safe to say, blue side starting to gain some momentum. Another game here would drag us to a set number 5. Pekka contesting in the mid, and Jubileo on that left-hand end, but the Hank is still threatening on that top right-hand side. You have to have multiple brawlers focus this.
Yeah, and you'll notice that, of course, that Sweet Dreams gadget interrupts the current bubble that is being charged by, Hank here. It's the only way to try and deal with it, but again, the heal from the super, far too powerful. Portox now is deep behind enemy lines, and while he doesn't actually get traded out, it means maximum map control for the Meeple in the mid. Say that 5 times quickly, folks. He's up to 8 gems now, and Castle Brawl have not had a chance to get a look at this gem mine.
Visibility on the ground, a cutoff there, but Portox bubble covers a good fourth of it, so it's not a lot of room to work with. Casa Brawl on this top left-hand side corner. It's Hank flanking. Angles coming in everywhere, and the red roster is under siege. Left-hand side, now we've got Green on the ground. Extra brawlers to help out. Some super speed to go through, and Dacon safely in the back.
It must be fun to play Hank right now. All your job is literally to int. You want to gum up the wheels, the chewing gum on the boots of your opponents as they try and get towards your Gemma carrier. It is a clean win here for Legion Otaku. Another beautiful draft that's going to take us to a decided map.
I mean, Casa Brawl might be getting too cute with it. Look, one of the things that we do know about this meta, Hank is him. And you let it slide through. You let the other team take advantage. You go for something old, something that's worked in the past. A Sandy Stun's not enough to combat the Hank.
I think we've all seen it coming as we saw the bans. Hank now banned out, and Hank was picked up as first. He played it perfectly. Portox was able to push behind the enemy's lines again and again, and his pressure that he put on the enemy team was outstanding. I do also like the Meeple and Hank synergy. We have seen this already last weekend, but today again, the team around Boss here showed us that you can just throw your square wall of dice, and Hank has an easy matchup there. Nobody can run away. He can just get the kills, and then push against the enemy's lines again. And just so much pressure overall with the Hank. He was the MVP in my eyes here.
It's like you need 2 brawlers to counter the Hank, right? I mean, Casa Brawl have a very reasonable composition, right? And honestly, Sandy does good damage. It's very reasonable, but I feel like if you don't have a composition that is specifically trained from a young age to go after Hank and eliminate them, while they're, at their strongest, maybe Bell for the mark and the damage amplification, you need more than just a Bell on a map like this. It just puts too much stress on your drafting that you eventually start to lose sight of how you are supposed to win the game. You're just busy trying to not lose to the Hank, which is a huge problem. So, just banning it out and saving yourself the trouble of having to think about it is important. I want to point out as well, no Mr. P hypercharge in that second round. You said a great job there by whoever was playing the Juju there was dodging a lot of those Mr. P shots and made it very, very hard for them to get there, even if the supers on.
That was very important as well. The Mr. P looked just as dangerous as the Hank in my eyes, yet without his hypercharge, he's not that scary. Done a very good job of just not feeding him. Now heading into our 5th and final set of this matchup. Whoever wins this one moves into the semi-finals. That's exciting, Kenny.
Could be an upset. The good news, if you're a Casa Brawl fan, is this has been a map that they've done pretty solid at, and unfortunately, Legion Otaku, I cannot say the same about. They've had a losing record, at least in practices, for the last couple of weeks, and again, practices aren't everything, but it's kind of all we have to go off of. Casa Brawl, nonetheless, a lot of question marks coming into today. I mean, they were definitely flawed, especially after last month. They were really successful. It came down to the wire against Loud, but just something about this meta, this map, I don't know what it is, but Casa Brawl just haven't been able to finish the job.
I mean, Brawl changes so much, Sonny. I really do think there's a lot to be said for just having the right idea early. Casa Brawl, in leaving Hank open a lot, probably just came in with the preconception that Hank is fine, we can play around him, he's manageable, and that's probably something they got from Scrim. So as soon as they get into these games, they're like, wait a minute, we had this assumption that we could actually just deal with this one brawler, but now we have to rewrite our whole script on the fly.
We did see an example of someone beating Hank on the exact same map. BC Gaming versus Olympus Squad also played into a Hank, and BC Gaming took that map with Juju, Ash, and Melody. It was actually, possible to beat that Hank. You don't have to have him on your own side. Now, heading into the next set, this is also a map we have seen already from BC Gaming versus Olympus Squad. We saw Meeple on this map, which I absolutely loved. But as I said before, on Brawl Ball, still, you want to have a B or a max mid just to give your tanks either a speed boost or just that tank counter to go up against the tanks that the opponents are usually also going to pick. It's really a tank meta right now, Kenny.
be a common first pick on this map, so that doesn't shock me whatsoever. Another common strategy has been Barry being paired with other tanks that are really good on this map. Somebody that has escaped the ban phase, Stu in the mix, and I think Stu could be part of the equation here if the team wants to get frisky and go something like a Shade. Hank and Stu, two common ways to deal with Shade. The reason I think Shade was so successful in somebody like Zeta Division's hands last week is because they addressed it in the advanced stage. When Stu wasn't in the map, when Hank wasn't in the map, and when talking with pro players, I got to speak with Team Heretics Rage, who gave me a little insight on this. They found a lot of success on this map with Shade, but the one way of stopping it, it's either a Hank or Stu, and now Casper will have that.
And I'm going to follow it up here with the Juju, who again, who just has been so utterly ubiquitous in this region. Not quite oppressive enough to be banned, but always just sneaking through here. And Casper will definitely sort of value it on a map like Triple Dribble. You can definitely see how it can be a nuisance. Just having like a one throw is generally quite helpful. And before Juju, it was Larry and Laurie, right? Someone who can obviously thrive where there are some walls still to play around, especially against a sharpshooter like Bell. Pekka outside, of course, of the Railroad Hive is going to feel pretty safe. So how do you feel in the rest of this comp? You go for another relatively long range thrower in the Barley, someone I think was brought up earlier, who has access to the Herbal Healing Tonic now on a pretty low cooldown, can help with that sustain, and it might mean that Legion Otaku want to round this comp out again with a tank or someone a little bit more in your face, which reminds me of their Hot Zone comp, where I said they kind of had a bit of everything, right? They had the Poker, they also had the Bell, and then they had the Ollie to really go in and engage. So we're hoping to see this sort of all-purpose Swiss Army knife drafting from Lego Otaku here in this decider set. And there it is.
There's a little bit of everything. Ash was kind of the next tank up to me, especially with Hank and Ollie on the top right of your screen being eliminated there. So they've got B, who's going to be able to handle any tanks on the other end. It's just a dependable first roll pick. They don't lock themselves into any strategy. They see what the other team brings out. They see Stu and Juju. They go into the Barley. Great pick on this map. Ash, somebody that's maybe fallen off a little bit in terms of the meta popularity, but somebody last month that was really good, and I see no reason why he isn't going to be strong here. Carl, the final selection, though, going to be able to pierce through a B, going to be able to pierce through a Barley, and going to be able to deal with those spawners of Ash. I think this is actually a really solid 6 pick.
Yeah, I think if Motep can just, avoid Ash if possible, that's great. But like you mentioned, if, Little Helpers does get popped, that flying pickaxe can just cut through the entirety of those little minions and make it really hard to deal with the Carl. And then Ash has to deal with, Carl super on top of them. I want to see what the matchup looks like in lane here. Pekka up against Portok. So this is the best look that Legion Otaku can get. We might see a potentially castable lane swapping out of that matchup because this early phase has gone pretty poorly for them.
Interesting choice to go for the wall break as well, especially because there you have Juju. Carl typically relies on those walls, and the other end has a B, but does play into the Barley, and the Ash opening up the map certainly hurts them, so they're willing to take the trade-off there. It'll be an interesting game of chess we've got going for this match.
Yeah, Jubilee are going to be pretty selective about which walls they actually do break. And there it is, Pekka with the, of course, with the gadget and the super going in. It does have enough damage to deal with the Ash there, but at no point have Casper been able to take control of the middle part of the map. There's still a B and a Barley inhabiting this area. Portox is more than happy just to get in the way for Casper and make it hard for them to actually advance with their game plan.
Complete control of this map going for the blue side. Now they're diving in. Pekka forced to get aggressive, and it's not enough. The heals go through. It's not to keep him up alive enough, and it's so close. Not quite enough, though. A beautiful flank from Pekka. Now Casper will have a chance to respond to their own. Finally get a little bit of control. It can take a breather.
Yeah, crucially, a bush for Motep. That was the problem. When you're on the defensive, as Juju on this map, you're really not very remote. In fact, you're worse than Barley in almost every aspect of the game. But once Motep can play through these pushes, they can get some value. Pekka able to take down enough of those little helpers to at least stay alive. But Portox is very quickly re-established that mid-control for Legion Otaku. There has to be another heat injector for Pekka to create some space here. And Dacon just going to keep popping those gadgets here. Motep almost taken down.
When you're in trouble, pop a gadget. Just send the Rattled Hive, send the Herbal Tonic, and at least give yourself a little footing. Jubileo on the left-hand end, able to find a kill alongside Motep. It's a pass to the right-hand end. A gadget going down for Pekka, and he's tail spinning his way through the other side. A complete terror of the Legion Otaku, and it's going to result in a goal.
Crucially as well, supers and hypers up for minions. Castle players, and Jubileo's going to pop it straight away now, making it possible for Dacon to hit them. He has the dodge back away, though, from that Rattled Hive, and Dacon's created a lot of space with last call covering the middle of the map. Bass gets a pretty effective hypercharge, but Jubileo still wants to threaten here. Portox is going to get brought down, and Jubileo is in a position now to get this one straight walked in. Castle Brawl will take a first round of Brawl Ball.
Match point for the red roster. Really good job of hanging in there, staying tough, and they got an early defensive stop, which allowed them to stay in the game. I think you made a great call out. Once Juju finally got some grass, you can hit those long-range shots, because otherwise, Barley's got the distance to cover, and his shot lingers. Juju just instantly connects to the ground and explodes like you see there, but a Barley shot can stay around, linger, cause a little bit more area control.
And Barley has better utility, just straight up. The reason why you want the Juju here is for that increased range. So playing in the right part of the map is really important, and something that you never really think about with so many brawlers, but that's just Juju's affinity for the environment that she is standing in, defining her playstyle. So Motep here tanks a lot of that damage. You notice a gadget every now and then pop by Motep in order to get some extra range on those shots. Here's Gregory, going to be basically ignored or swept aside by Portok's pun, very much intended, as an Ash now wants to continue pushing up. There is, of course, a healing tonic in play now. Jubilee trying to get inside the rattle pipe and dispatches the B, but it's traded.
2v2 in the mid. Throwers dueling and Carl pickaxes flying. Portox tries to close in the gap. Herbal Tonic being cycled in once again. And Jubileo without a super and a hard time closing this gap. And now they've got B back in the mix. The